Hi everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the Canadian University Dubai studio. My name is Julie Beaton. I am a Canadian lawyer and I'm also an assistant professor here at the university. We are introducing a new program at the university called the Fresh Ideas Show, where we will be interviewing innovators and leaders in the UAE that have a relationship to Canada or the university or are just of general interest to our students. We have a very special guest in the studio to help kick this off. Excuse me, it is the Consul General of Canada for Dubai and the Northern Emirates, Emmanuel Kamarianakis. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you in the studio.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for letting me come in and have a chat.
Absolutely. Well, I saw you a couple nights ago at your wonderful reception for Canada Day.
Thank you. We're very happy. 151 years as a country, so we're very happy with that. So it went very well.
Well, hopefully we have 150 more.
Absolutely. We're just getting started.
Yeah, we're just getting started. We've done pretty well so far. So I just wanted to start at the beginning of your career and your story to find out how you went from where you originated to how you've become into the position that you're in now.
Okay, I mean it's it wasn't a story that I expected to happen. I came out of business school at the University of Calgary in Calgary, Alberta, and I was planning to probably go and become a lawyer. Actually, I wrote my LSATs. I was going to go to law school somewhere. And I was going to have my BCom. I had a Bachelor of Commerce degree and wrote my LSATs. And then at the same time, my sister, who was a poli-sci major, this is the beginning of my fourth year system. Listen, there's this thing called the Foreign Service, and it's government, and and you should take a look. They have these people called trade commissioners, and they do trade international business. And I thought, that seemed interesting because growing up in Calgary, at the time going to university in Calgary, government in Ottawa, that was like another planet. Nobody thought about moving in that direction. And so I also wrote the Foreign Service exam, and that must have been about October of that year, actually. And then I ended up, to make a long story short, I ended up getting a job offer. And I remember thinking to myself, what do I do, right? Do I go to law school? Do I apply for law school? Or do I take this job? I've got a solid job offer. And I remember going to see a professor of mine who was a poli-sci professor. I forget his name. He was a former Pakistani diplomat, actually. And I remember going to see him and saying, listen, I've been offered this, and I'm not sure what I should do. And he gave me some really good advice. He says, listen, the way the Foreign Service works in many countries, you might get in this year, you might not get in next year. That's a point to consider. The next point to consider is that you can go to law school almost at any time and just, apply if you don't like it in a few years. So he gave me some advice. We talked about a few other things, and I said, let me give it a shot. So I said, okay, I joined, and then the next thing I know, I'm in downtown Tehran, Iran, wondering, how I got here. And that's when I first came to Dubai, actually. It was probably 1995. I was based in Tehran. We used to come down here for a little bit of R&R and have some trips on the weekend, actually. So,
fantastic. Yeah. So did you speak a couple of languages before you started applying to the Foreign Service? Or?
I spoke English, of course, growing up in English Canada for the most part. I spoke a little bit of French because I was born in Montreal, and I spoke a little bit of French growing up. And then I learned French when I was hired in. We had a training program to kind of get my French up to level. I spoke Greek because I'm Greek origin. My parents are both of them from Greece, and they were born in Greece. I was born in Canada, but I spoke Greek in the house, and so I spoke that. And then since then, one of the things that I'm really grateful for in my career and in this job is a chance to learn languages. So I learned Spanish. I used to live in Mexico, and Spanish was a great language to learn. I really enjoyed speaking it, and I spoke it pretty well. And then a few years later, I got posted to Italy, to Rome, and I learned Italian. And then unfortunately, the Spanish, I still understand Spanish quite well, but every time I try to say something, Italian comes out. And I think in my brain, the part of the brain that does Spanish also does Italian, apparently. So it's hard to kind of get those two reconciled. Yeah. But I'm sure if I spent some time in a Spanish environment, I'd get my Spanish back up. So those are the languages that I speak. And one of the things that I really like about being in Dubai is that you get all flavors of languages. You get some really interesting languages. You get people that are speaking all sorts of dialects, and I've even picked up a few words here and there from different languages, which I really enjoy. I like languages. It's a bit of a regret, I would say, that I didn't learn Arabic. I could have, earlier in my career, kind of done a full training program for Arabic. It's a bit of a hard language to learn if you're not sort of, already started in it somewhere. But I've got the other languages, and I'm happy with those. So yeah.
Wow. So Iran, Mexico.
So Iran, my first posting was in Tehran, and I spent 3 years there. Yeah. Traveled the region, came to Dubai and Abu Dhabi a few times actually, and really enjoyed it. Then I went to Greece for 4 years in Athens. I went to Ottawa for a little bit, then I went to Athens for 4 years, which which made my mother very happy, of course,
Sure.
and spent 4 years there, a wonderful time. I was there from 99 to 03, so just before the lead up to the Olympics. So the city was booming and lots of activity. It was really a lot of fun. Then I went to Mexico City, and I really enjoyed that actually. I liked Mexico. I liked the job that I was doing. I was doing trade policy primarily, so NAFTA and such. And it was just a great place to live. Then I went back to Ottawa for quite a bit of time. I was there for 5 years. And then just before coming here, I was in Rome in Italy for 4 years and lived in Rome, which was spectacular. It was a great place to live. And then we came to Dubai in 2015, and we've had a wonderful time here. We really enjoyed Dubai. I mean, the people and the community and the city. I kind of joke a little bit sometimes, Rome is such a beautiful ancient city, right? I left the past and came to the future, right? So,
Very true, very true. Interesting. So what is next? So it's now in case any of you were sort of picking up on that you are coming now to the end of your term in the UAE. And so I guess before saying what's next, looking back, what were some of sort of the highlights of your time here?
So, for me, I really enjoyed, this posting, this opportunity for a few reasons. One, there's a lot of Canada here. I mean, CUD is an example. When I first arrived, I was really kind of, amazed when I came to visit for the first time, and I met Dr. Karim Shelley and Bhuti, of course, Al-Gandhi, the Chancellor, and we had a great meeting, and I did a tour of the university. I was really amazed that this existed, and the branding around it. I remember the first graduation ceremony to World Trade Center. It was a wonderful experience. So I liked how much Canada there is here in Dubai and in the UAE. A lot of Canadian citizens. And also, you look around the world, right? And I wonder if there are other cities outside of Canada that would have so much Canadian brand presence. I mean, you have, Tim Hortons, of course, and Second Cup, and Lululemon, and Garage Clothing, and Aldo Shoes, and Big Smoke Burger, and Expectations, that breakfast restaurant.
Yes.
And there's probably a few others that I'm missing, Beaver Tails. There's a lot of Canadian brands here, and they do quite well. So I got to say, I like that part of it as well, how much Canada there is here. And I also, really like living in the UAE from the perspective of this is a tolerant society. It's a diverse society and city, Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And there's a certain amount of I'd say, fairness in providing a platform for people like you and myself and others to come here and study and work and contribute and start a business or be a professional, in a region that doesn't have a lot of those kind of platforms, right? So I like that fact that the UAE has created this platform and really made it a place for the region to come and do business. It really is a hub. And we see it in terms of our Canadian companies that are based here. So we estimate over 150 that are operationally active, not just numbered corporations or such, operationally active here and are doing business across the region. And again, there's not a lot of cities in the world that would have that many that are using one particular city as a hub. And it's quality of life, it's the business platform, it's the laws and the rules and the IFC and such, all these elements that make Dubai a great place to do business. And so that's also been something that I really enjoyed about being here.
And actually something you touched on, I think I moved here in 2008 and I was looking at the numbers, or I think maybe at one of the Canadian Business Council meetings they mentioned it, that the number of Canadians here since 2008, I think has tripled from, I think it was around 12,000 maybe in 2008. I think, are we over 40,000
We
now?
estimate about 40, between Abu Dhabi and Dubai and
So
the other
why-
Emirates as well.
What do you think is attracting Canadians here? I guess other than obviously the things that you've already said, but is there anything else that you can think of that brings Canadians here?
I think, again, it's anecdotal evidence. I don't have hard statistics. We haven't kind of, gone out to survey people, but my sense is that it's this wonderful business platform. I think the weather contributes for some people as well. Of course, you go through a few Canadian winters and you want a bit of heat. I think the opportunities that you get here, particularly as a young person, can be significant. And I think that regional growth opportunities, whether it's in South Asia or whether it's in the Gulf region, have helped bring people here. And I'm happy to see Canadian expats. I think it's healthy for Canada and for any country for that matter, to have its citizens, spend some time outside, see the world, build some connections, some networks. It just helps business, it helps investment, it helps people-to-people ties, it helps educational ties. So I think all these kind of factors contribute to bringing Canadians here. And yes, I've heard the same story about the growth, and I think it's a healthy number actually.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a big increase. And what do you think Canadians bring to the table when they come here and they're working or they're owning businesses, or what are the Canadian qualities that you think that they bring with them?
Yeah, it's a good question actually. My sense is that one of the things that really differentiates Canadians from others is, the environment that we come from, in the sense that it has a very strong values network or values existence. So people that are coming out of Canadian business environment or Canadian educational system have those Canadian values as part of their DNA, and that means that you're looking at running something from a CSR perspective or from a governance perspective. You're going to get somebody that has that ability to bring world-class CSR, world-class governance models to the table. Values and ethics will be very strong. We make sure that our companies and our citizens working abroad adhere to some guidelines and some rules, and that our companies are good corporate citizens. And I think that kind of mentality is something that is of value. I'd also say that Canadians also bring I think a pretty strong multicultural, multi-ethnic, multilinguistic capacity. You look at Toronto today, or Montreal, or Vancouver, or many other cities. It's a lot like Dubai, right? I mean, you have a lot of ethnicities, a lot of great restaurants. One of the things I love about living in Canada is actually there's wonderful restaurants everywhere, and from all sorts of cuisines, which reflects the community that they come from. So it's not just something that's been put in place because they think it might be a good idea. This is a community that is coming from wherever they're coming from, that has restaurants and cuisine that serves their community, and others can take advantage of it as well. So Canadians have that already as well in their DNA, this multicultural adaptability, which I think is a strong selling point for them.
And I can see that too as when I help people with immigration. You've got people from every background going to Canada, so I think that immigration really helps with that as well. That Canada is still one of these very pro-immigration countries that recognizes the value of people from all over coming. Do you sort of see Canada continuing down that road of immigration and inviting people from all over the world to join our country? Absolutely.
I think it's being strengthened actually. If I'm not mistaken, we had our highest year for immigration to Canada last year, which was about 300,000 people coming to the country. This year we're going to hit 310,000, then next year 330,000, the year after that 340,000. And these are announced targets from the government, which are medium term, out 4 years, which are the highest we've ever had in our history. And I would add as well that we've also accepted very high numbers of refugees, in particular Syrian refugees over the last couple of years, what happened in Syria, of course. And so we have a society that is able to absorb and adapt people, not only culturally, but also importantly into the economy, that there's jobs that are available, that kids coming in, for example, as students and then wanting to stay, for example, to immigrate, are having opportunities to get jobs in the economy as well. That's very important because it's a recipe for problems when you accept immigrants and then there's no employment for them. And of course the cliche is, and I'm not sure it happens all that much, but it has happened, I think, in the past. You have a doctor driving a taxi cab. Right. We try, I think, very hard to avoid that situation. So people that are coming in with a particular skill set should be able to find something a job in that sort of area overall. So I think that we're still able to absorb people economically, but also culturally. And I think one of the things that I really liked about the Syrian refugee crisis and the numbers we accepted a very high number of refugees coming into Canada from Syria, is we had these unique programs where not only the government sponsored people, but communities and individuals sponsored families. Yes. Which is, I think, fantastic in and of itself. Intrinsically, I think it's a good idea, but it also sends a message to the rest of the country and to the world that these are people that want to welcome other people. So when you accept refugees, when you accept immigrants into your society, it's not just they come in at some, they go wherever and you just forget about them. They become part of you. They become part of your society, part of your community. And I think that message is strong amongst Canadians, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. Quite the opposite.
Yeah, I saw some great news articles about that. I think it was in Nova Scotia where the community was taking the new Syrian families to see their first hockey game, and they were making a really big, like celebration about it. It's great. So it was nice to see. So I guess on that note, so CUD has a program where they can people can start studying here and then transfer to universities in Canada. I think they've got maybe about 20 universities that they do partnerships with. So I think a lot of students that come here ultimately would love to go and study in Canada, or maybe ultimately immigrate. But for those that are interested in studying in Canada, do you have any advice for people? I mean, you've studied there, you've grown up there, or just also in your role as a diplomat, what you see the future is? Or
of course, I'm probably a little bit biased here, but I think Canada's great, has great opportunities for education. But I'm trying to be objective about it. I mean, I look at other systems around the world. I won't name which countries, for example. And yes, there are great universities globally speaking, of course. But then you also run into this kind of this gap type of thing between very, very high end and then the rest. Let's say, in Canada's case, of course, we have some great universities. But even the universities that maybe not as well known are fantastic comprehensive schools that offer people a great education, I think at a very reasonable cost, and that position you well for the job market and position you well for having a career. And it also gives you the ability to pick and choose which region of the country you want to live in, what kind of specialization you want to do. I don't know, you might want to study marine biology or naval architecture at Memorial University in Newfoundland, or you might want to study marine biology and naval architecture at the University of British Columbia, or you might want to study science and mathematics at the University of Alberta, or U of T, or McGill. Like, there's a lot of variety, and each of those schools and others offer very high quality education, which I like. Like, it shows that the system is fair, it's comprehensive, and offers people a chance to really get that high quality education, and also position themselves well for entering the Canadian economy and society relatively easily afterwards. So it's been a while since I've been in university, but I have to say, it was a very memorable period. I had some great friendships, some great memories, and I had a lot of fun, maybe a little bit too much fun sometimes.
I think that's what university is about in some ways.
Exactly. And I have to say, I have a very strong connection to the Canadian educational system, which is also, for me, is something that is part of being Canadian and part of, being a Canadian citizen, is having access to it without paying astronomical fees either. Because that's also something you need to keep in mind, because you can spend a fortune and get into some pretty serious debt going to some schools, and that could be anywhere in the world. And I think in Canada we try to keep those costs under control as well, and let people have a chance to get an education and then start a life and move onwards.
Yeah, and to sort of pick up on a point that you said, I saw the Maclean's magazine did their university and college review that they do every year, and actually the ones that the current undergraduate students had ranked as some of the best schools, or schools that universities that I don't think a lot of people have heard of. You sort of hear these really big brands that that are known internationally, but even these smaller universities, which maybe offer smaller classrooms or more one-on-one connection, that the undergrads love it. So,
exactly, and it's a good point actually, because again, you can be looking at a university to go and get a great degree in, or great program in, or pursue a great program and get a great education in, and those are almost across the country. It's hard to go wrong actually, speaking honestly. But then, of course, there's also very high-end, universities that are very well known, which are also research universities, which an economy like Canada needs. If you want to have an innovative economy, if you want to have investments in new technologies, in artificial intelligence, in quantum computing, you also need to have a certain amount of capacity in terms of research, in terms of S&T development. And these certain universities will specialize in those areas, and of course they're going to have more research grants and more research money going to them, and they'll also have higher profile in a particular field. That also exists. So you go get a great degree, let's say at University X, and then let's say you become really passionate about whatever you're doing. Then you say, I'm going to go get a master's and a PhD. Then you can look in finding this world-class research university in Canada, which there are several, and go get your postgraduate work done, or postgraduate work done. And so I think it's a comprehensive solution, and you're right. I mean, the schools that sometimes people don't know about they are fantastic schools.
Yeah. So I guess we're now coming to not only the end maybe here, but also, so you're about to head back to Canada
Yes,
and finishing your post here.
yeah.
So is there, looking back, is there, or I guess maybe let's put it this way, is there anything, I guess you're leaving not in the very immediate future, but is there any one last thing you'd like to do or achieve before you leave? Maybe they're achieving something's not there, you've only maybe got a few days, I'm not sure, but or one last thing you'd want to do in Dubai before you
That's a good question.
off?
You know, I don't know, because I've kind of tried to take advantage of my time here to do as much as I can, and I did quite a few things, fun things, both personally and professionally. I think I've done a lot of interesting things here that I've enjoyed. I've toured all the Emirates. Of course, I cover off the Northern Emirates, of course, as well. And I've been to see the rulers, and I've had a wonderful time visiting them in their majlises. I've enjoyed Dubai and done the Burj Khalifa and been to the desert and all those wonderful things. I get to go and visit my colleague, our ambassador in Abu Dhabi, regularly, so I'm over there quite a bit and see him and then team over there.
You've done it.
Yeah, there's
You've done
been a few
more than
small
most, I
things,
think, yeah.
and so I've really enjoyed my time here. It's been a great experience, and I've really enjoyed also, I have to say, CUD. I mean, you've done quite a few events that I've been at. You're very proactive. The students here, I think, are outstanding. I mean, everybody that I've met and the professors and teachers that I met have been great. It's a great community. You can sense a real community feeling here, which I kind of relate to Canada as well. No, I think there might be something, but I think
Just
I'm.
one last dish of hummus, maybe before
Oh,
you go.
no, it's not going to end when I leave. I'm taking that with me. I got a recipe. I'm ready to go.
So what's next then? Once you leave, what are your plans?
It's a good question. So I'm going back to Canada, back to Ottawa. I think we decided as a family. I've got young kids and my wife, of course. We've been gone for a while. We spent, it'll be 7.5 years out altogether. And it's time for us to go back for family reasons, and such, and be closer to family. So we're going to go back to Ottawa and be there for a few years. We'll see what happens after, but we're looking forward to it, And we've got family. I've got family in Calgary, and I got family in Montreal. We live in Ottawa because that's where the job is and such. But we're close, and once you're in country, it's easier to get around. It's easier for people to visit you as well. And we were just talking earlier about Ottawa, what a great city it is. And it's it's actually it's good to begin with, but it's improved a lot over the last, I think, 10 to 12 years, quite a lot actually. So there's a lot of nice new energy in the city as well. And we're looking forward to it. Yeah.
Do you think you're ready for your first Canadian winter again?
Talk to me next summer.
Remember, big jacket. That's the
exactly,
that's the key.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming to the studio today and speaking with me. And good luck with everything. And it's been a real honor.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks,
Julie.
I definitely feel it was an achievement to be able to transfer to Canada, and it was definitely a dream from the get-go, and obviously I couldn't have done it by myself. I needed people around me to support me and help me, and CUD played a big part in that, shaping me as a character and helping me realize what I could do, and they basically gave me a boost to pursue my education abroad in Canada itself. In a sense, I do believe I've achieved my dream with the help of CUD.